Entertainment is part of a rapidly growing industry which stakeholders predict will hit the $1 billion mark in Africa by the year 2016. Nigeria alone produces well over 1,000 albums a year and has become the toast of every young, aspiring musician. But not every one of these starstruck youngsters will go on to make it to the top, cruise the Bentleys, rock the designer gear, and court the finer things in life. In reality, only a few lucky ones will get to grace the spotlight and become the flavor of the month. Can all that glitter be gold? On this episode, I cross-examined the underlying paradox of the African music scene, and my findings are what you're about to see. I'm James Lairde, and you're watching Channel Discovery. In an attempt to understand the real situation of the African pop music scene, where better to start asking questions than at a radio station? I headed to 99.9 Beat FM, one of the top stations in Lagos, where I had the privilege to talk to one of the original pioneers of the local pop music industry, Olisa Adeboah. I bumped into a session at the Beat FM to have an off-the-cuff conversation on the state of the industry. Good afternoon, Ollie.
Hey.
How's everything?
Not bad, James.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Welcome to Beat FM.
Thanks for having me.
Grab a seat, my brother.
All right.
So we're talking music.
Yeah, so
Are you ready?
let's do it. Please tell us a bit about yourself and how you found yourself influencing the Nigerian entertainment scene so many years ago.
I've been working in electronic media and in entertainment for about 26 years now. I just started off making television programs. I've worked on radio. I own record labels. Basically, I've done it all.
Okay.
You know, I'm like a dinosaur, but I'm not extinct yet.
All right, so talking about the talented guys now, artists in general, there's so many artists. You turn on the TV stations, the music channels, and I mean, you could go days at a time and see different artists popping up one after the other.
Yeah.
How many of these artists are actually really talented?
Like in all things, you know, when people, you know, back then people saw music industry or entertainment industry for people who were dropouts, who weren't doing well. I remember when I first started what I'm doing right now, people were calling my father, saying, why are you letting your son do this? My father knew what I was doing because he spoke with me and I explained to him, and sometimes he would be confused. He'd be calling me, say, how come people are asking me about you and they're asking me whether I'm your father? I said, why? He said, I said, I'm not doing anything illegal. Well, I'm making a name for myself.
The industry has grown.
Yeah, the industry has grown. People have grown with it. Now you have parents who are ready to let their children come into industry. That's why you see that volume. But you have to be, anyone coming to industry has to be careful because you can get a false impression. There's about 3,000 young guys and young girls out there on the hustle
Maybe
in the music
more.
industry. Maybe more. That's the ones who actually you
Yes.
get to see the stuff on TV, get to hear them on radio. But out of the 3,000, only like 30 can say they're actually making a living solely from music.
Talk about piracy for
yeah.
a sec. How has it affected the Nigerian entertainment industry, both movies and music as well?
Piracy has been the killer. It's been a kiss of death. You know, now thanks to digital, there are ways to circumvent
To bypass
it.
the
Yeah,
pirate.
but unfortunately, the digital market is not as
Due to bandwidth and other stuff
yeah,
like
it's
that.
because of what we still have issues with service providers. The digital market has not penetrated as much. I think Nigeria, not just Nigeria, but Africa is the future of the music industry.
Are we on the right track?
We're definitely on the right track. What we need to do right now is to understand that who we are. You know, a lot of the artists that are coming through now have to understand, be original. You know, and you notice that over the last 5 to 10 years, all the successful artists, when you hear the music on the radio, you recognize their voices immediately.
Sure.
They have a unique voice. That's what's special about it.
On a final note, how do you see the African pop industry moving forward in the years to come?
The language of our music is universal. you know. And wherever anybody wants to dance and have a good time, you'll find Nigerian or African music there. Sometimes the lyrics will not be as important, you know, because the language barriers will become, you know, blurred. But I think our music, in terms of of what we bring, I know a lot of producers in Europe and America are looking for that next big sound. And I think this is where they're going to find it. Blending what we have already, our rhythms and our beats, with what they have, you know, with their instrumentation. Then we come together, and then we now see the future of music. And I think Nigeria will definitely be in the vanguard of that.
All right, Olisa, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Having had some clarity as to where the future of African pop music might be heading, I thought it was wise to find out how this new type of music is beginning to shape the future of its primary audience, the African youth. I decided to revisit Dr. Tennyson to address the psychological effects of the new trend. Nice to have you on the show again, Doctor.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I wanted to start off by asking, can music really shape the way people think and act?
In diverse ways. We'll just give an example. You know, when you hear up-tempo music, that means it has a lot of beats per minute.
Okay.
It has a tendency to make you want to dance, you know, to move and so on. How does it do that? Stimulates a place in the brain called the brainstem, and then increases the heart rate and increases muscle tone. Now, this has a tendency to make you want to move, you know, induce movement. So when you hear music like that, that's, for example, in pop music, in rap, and so on, it makes you want to hum, you know, things that have drum beats and so on and so on. Now, that's in the one instance. Then when the tempo is a bit reduced, it makes you want to, it's a bit sadder or slower music and so on. Now, those are just two examples. Remember the last time you went for a party and then they suddenly put on music that seemed to be quicker paced and everybody wanted to get up to dance, you know? So that's an example of how music makes people want to, you know, change their immediate behavior.
Okay. Now, speaking about music, the African pop music scene seems to be quite buoyant as of recent times. What do you think brought this about?
Oh, several. But well, let me just highlight one thing. You know, a lot of music that is produced contemporarily actually mirrors events in society. So people just generally sing from what they see around them. And you find that somehow that tends to predominate the lyrical content of the music. Now, in the 60s, 70s, people were singing really about freedom of Nigeria, countries in Africa, you know, apartheid and so on and so on. But now that isn't the theme of society. So the social fabric of society isn't, that's not a problem. So what are people singing about? People really tend to sing about life generally, relationships, love, reproduction. I call it reproduction, but you might say sexuality and so on and so on. But themes surrounding that really is what people are focusing on. And you find that generally people are buying more and more of that. That tells you something, and anybody who's listening should actually see really that violence in music doesn't really sell so much. You see how people are anymore, even then, because then that type of music was being produced, but people weren't buying so much of it as they're buying music that is celebrating reproduction, love, you know, comfort, rest, relationships, friendship. So really, people want things that make them happy, not themes that stimulate sadness or anger and so on. That's the theme.
There seems to be a lot of Americanization with the slangs, the dressing, and even the lingo. You know, what do you think has caused this?
Well, you know, there's this common saying when they say monkey see, monkey do, simply meaning, you know, what you see, eventually you're going to mirror, you're going to want to act out and so on. A lot of people who are producing music nowadays grew up listening and watching music videos that were made in America by Americans. And American culture understands that one of the strongest ways to influence the world is not really by going there and preaching to them, is by subtly presenting things in music, in movies, you know, things that they accept. Present your culture to them and don't even preach about it, just put it out there. And because people will generally mirror and imitate and want to live up to what's referred to as vicarious learning. So vicariously they're seeing these things and they're seeing it being rewarded in music videos and movies. They will want to act these things out. And that's just the general thing. But in our environment now, that can change. People can start singing about, take for instance, you know, there was a time when American suburban culture and popular culture, generally all their music videos were all about bling bling money. But now you will see some people sing, they will sing in the ghettos. They will sing in poor shanty environments and it will still sell. And there'll be videos because now they're tending towards creativity rather than materialism. So it's an evolutionary stage, and then once people begin to evolve and realize that okay, we're beyond the material phase now, we should get more creative, and when they get to that point of being more creative, you will find themes like this predominating the discourse.
Dr. Tennyson, very insightful as usual. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Yeah. If it's to be true that Afropop music would fulfill its evolutionary phase as the doctor noted, the proof would be in the artists. I chose to take a trip to Vegas to meet my next guest, multi-award-winning African hip-hop pioneer Mode 9, who never seemed to believe the whole hype. So tell us a bit about your view of the local music industry here in Nigeria presently, and where you think it's going in the next few years. Your view?
Well, we have some good guys and we have some mediocre guys. Like, it's always been like that, but I guess right now, I think people are gravitating towards more mediocre music with less skilled songwriting skills, and that's just me being truthful.
Okay.
But I feel there are a couple of other good guys that raise the bar a bit.
And are quite talented.
It kind of covers the weak ones.
Did you think you were just going to come in the game and explode because you had talent?
I didn't even think like that. I just wanted to rap. I didn't care. I didn't want to be a star. I didn't really think about I could like make a living doing this. I just wanted to rap, because it was something that I really, really loved. So I just wanted to do it. So I wasn't even thinking of, I'm going to do this, I'm going to become a star, I'm going to go on tour. Nope, I just wanted to rap.
How do these young, new artists get their songs on the radios through OAPs and all that? What's the process?
It's like every radio station, it is pretty much straightforward. This is what you, as an artist, if you're independent and you're a young artist, this is what you should do. First of all, go on Twitter. Follow the radio station, one.
Okay.
Second of all, follow the on-air personalities.
His own personal Twitter account?
Yes, their personal Twitter accounts. Follow them, once in a while tweet. They might not be able to answer everything every time you tweet.
At least you're on the radar.
But once in a while, they will answer. And then you now ask them, because different radio stations, it varies,
Right.
how they submit.
So you have to build
So you
a
have
relationship.
to ask, you can ask, how do I get my song on? Sometimes they do competitions. You have to have your ears in the streets. You can't just be there sitting down, I'm an artist, and then you just go to the radio station and dump a CD there.
So you've got to work your music. You've got to
You
get it
gotta
out
work
there.
that music. You got to do YouTube videos. YouTube videos don't cost anything. You can actually do a YouTube video of you singing your song
Right.
with your camera and upload it, and then just use it to disturb everybody on Twitter. You can do some little videos on Instagram. You doing some little things, there are different ways. And then if you have some money behind you, you can actually
Yeah, let it
just
go.
push it.
Just push it. Okay, what's the new slang on the streets?
Love what you do and do what you love.
Mode
It's
9.
just simple.
Many people wouldn't know that we share the same name. Your last name, Babatunde, is my middle name. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Babatunde,
something
Mode 9.
simple.
All right, bro.
Babu.
Appreciate it.
All right, man. Peace.
One. Issues like the scarcity of exceptional talent, irregular airplay, artist-label relationships, and piracy are among some of the challenges militating against Africa's music industry, especially within the rising pop sector. To see if we could get clearer insight into this recurring paradox, we sought out to find a record label known for having the consistent ability to groom successful artists, make good music, and more importantly, handle the business side of fame. Welcome to Nigeria's own Chocolate City. Now, Audu, you're a successful lawyer by training. Could you please tell us what brought about Chocolate City?
Basically, I got involved in, maybe during my degree in University of Jos, I got involved in promoting shows. First of all, I'm a graphic artist, so I actually paint and things like that. And I got involved in doing posters for people who were having concerts. And then somebody had a film to promote, and they said, "Oh, meet Aldo, he will help you do that." So later on, we started Chocolate City while I think my third or fourth year in University of Jos, as a means to generate revenue, have fun, and do something a bit different. Later on, after my call to bar, the law firm I was working, I also found that there was a whole gap in the Abuja cultural literary scene. There was nothing that was stimulating young people, getting people involved in the creative industries, poetry, music, and etc. And we started something called the Guild of Artists and Poets with my business partner, Paul